Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive deep into the science of endurance training, and we're going to challenge a huge, long-standing belief in the fitness world. The idea that to get faster, you have to just constantly redline it, pushing yourself to the absolute limit every single time.
So, let's just start with this question. Is go hard or go home really the best advice? For years, high-intensity interval training, HIIT, has been sold as the ultimate shortcut to getting fit. But what if that whole approach is actually what's holding you back from your true potential?
And this brings us to something we can call the intensity paradox. It's this weird situation where the very thing we think is making us better, that nonstop high-intensity grind, can actually lead to burnout, chronic inflammation, and, injury. The common wisdom is just so simple, right? More pain, more gain. But the actual science tells a much more interesting story. See, the goal of any training isn't just to get tired. It's to trigger a specific positive change in your body. And sometimes, the most powerful trigger isn't going all out. To really get why, we need to zoom way in. I'm talking microscopic level. Let's talk about what the real goal of endurance training is. It's all about building better cellular engines.
And when I say engines, I'm talking about mitochondria. You probably remember these from biology class. They're the powerhouses of your cells. They're the little guys that turn fuel, like fat and carbs, into the energy that lets you do, everything. The more of these you have, and the more efficient they are, the better your endurance and overall health will be.
Okay, so how do we build more of them? The obvious answer seems to be train harder. But a huge, systematic review that pulled together a ton of data found something pretty fascinating. The results are not what you'd expect.
First, they looked at low to moderate intensity training. Think long, slow runs or bike rides, the kind of stuff people sometimes call junk miles. Well, that training increased mitochondrial content by a really significant 23%. Not bad at all.
Okay, so what about high-intensity interval training, or HIIT, the stuff that's way more painful? Well, that produced a 27% increase. A little bit more, sure, but not some massive leap.
And then, what about the most intense stuff you can do? All-out, can't-breathe sprint interval training, the kind of workout that totally wrecks you. Well, it also resulted in a 27% increase. Just look at this chart. It lays it all out perfectly. 23% for low intensity and 27% for both high intensity and sprints. The gains are almost identical. Despite this massive difference in how hard you're working and the stress you're putting on your body, your cells respond by building these crucial engines in a remarkably similar way. This is huge. It tells us that punishing yourself isn't the only way to get better.
And that brings us to the power of slow. If low-intensity work is so darn effective at the cellular level, what's the best way to do it? Well, the answer lies in a very specific type of training that's all about building your aerobic foundation. The real magic happens in what coaches call Zone 2. As you can see in this table, that's roughly 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. It's a light, sustainable effort. The classic test is, could you hold a conversation while doing it? If you can, you're probably in Zone 2. It honestly feels almost too easy, but deep inside your body, incredible things are happening. Now, if you were in a sports science lab, we could get super precise. Zone 2 lines up with a blood lactate level of about 1.7 to 1.9 millimoles per liter. This number represents the exact sweet spot where your body gets incredibly good at burning fat for fuel, which is exactly what stimulates those mitochondrial gains without creating a ton of stress.
But look, a smart training plan isn't just about your energy systems. It's about building a body that can handle the work. And that includes the stuff that holds you together, your tendons and ligaments.
And here is where things get really wild. Your muscles and your connective tissues adapt on completely different schedules. While your muscle cells are happy to keep working and adapting throughout a long workout, your tendons and ligaments, they punch out early.
Research shows that the cells inside your tendons effectively stop responding to the workout after just 10 minutes. That's it. 10. Any work you do after that point in a single session isn't making them any stronger.
And it gets even more specific. Those same cells need a full 6 hours of rest before they're listing for a signal to adapt again. Now, this completely flips the script on how we should think about training. It suggests that for tissue health, shorter, more frequent sessions might actually be way better than one long, grueling run. Okay, so let's tie this all together and see how it builds a case for a much more personal approach to training. Because the best workout for you isn't one size fits all. It really depends on where you're starting from.
Just take a look at this chart on VO2 max improvements, which is a key marker of aerobic fitness. If you're untrained, anything you do leads to huge gains. The bar on the left is massive, but as you get fitter, those gains get smaller and way harder to earn. This is the law of diminishing returns in real time. For the well-trained athlete on the right, the training has to be much smarter and more specific to see any progress at all.
And this chart on training efficiency really drives the point home. If you're new to this and you don't have a lot of time, sprint training gives you the absolute most bang for your buck. Look at that huge bar for SIT, sprint interval training. But notice how for more advanced athletes, that go hard all the time approach just hits a wall. Their progress starts to depend way more on total training volume and having a smart mix of different intensities.
So all this data, from the mitochondria in your cells, to your connective tissues, to your current fitness level, it all points toward one single, overarching principle for making real long-term progress. It really all comes down to this idea. Your progress isn't just about how hard you train, it's about how smart you recover. A systematic plan, where your easy days and your rest days are just as important as your hard days, is the only thing that leads to consistent, long-term improvement. This requires a total mental shift. We've got to move away from thinking the point of a workout is just to get exhausted. Instead, think of every session as applying a precise dose of stress that's designed to create a very specific change, whether that's building mitochondria, strengthening tendons, or boosting your VO2 max.
And that's really the key question I want to leave you with. As you think about your own workouts, ask yourself this: is what I'm doing strategically designed to build a better, stronger, more resilient me, or is it just making me tired? The answer to that question could be the key that unlocks your next level of performance.